Character Blogs and Chapter Tweets online presentation by Veronica F. Clark for EDU 709. In the 6th grade, we have some required readings of our students to be done inside the classroom. Those novels are The Devil's Arithmetic, Walk Two Moons, Letters from a Slave Girl, A Girl Named Disaster, and Esperanza Rising. We also have monthly genre readings that require for students to do outside reading and log 400 minutes. We currently were using reading log sheets. So for September, the genre was historical fiction, October was mystery, November was fantasy, December, since we were a short month due to Christmas break, they had to do a current event article. For January, they had to do science fiction novel, February, autobiography or a biography, March, love story, and for April, a graphic novel. This is a listing of some of the popular genre titles that my students read. You have Divergent, I guess it's pronounced Geisha, Hitler's Angel, The Hunger Games series, Boy in the Lion Throne, Ella Enchanted, and Bone. My rationale for doing a character blog is that since most school districts are using the Common Core standards of practice, I wanted a way to incorporate the English language arts domains of literacy and writing. Then I thought about ways to utilize technology to enforce the writing assignment that goes along with the reading of the novels. So I thought about my current practice of blogging and how I could connect it with a novel in a different format. I should also mention that I am currently on the summer reading committee, and we brainstormed the idea of character blogs and tweets. I like the idea of students being able to make a blog from a character's point of view instead of from their own, as they had been doing in my class with our class blogs. The idea behind the character blog lesson. In my lesson, I wanted students to view examples of appealing blogs, learn the basic elements of blog creation, and then create a blog from the perspective of a fictional character. Students should be able to demonstrate understanding of the text by including images, quotations, links, and commentary on their blogs. Students then can help one another develop their blogs by acting as editors during the creation stage and reviewing one another's blogs upon completion. Here are some steps for the lesson. Of course, on the first day, students will spend time learning about what makes a good blog, such as interesting design elements, creative writing, clear theme, strong organization, by viewing a few key ones. They will be provided with a blog exemplar web quest, and they will be asked to follow the directions provided, navigating to the blogs listed on the sheet and filling out the questions. On day 2, students will report back to the computer lab, and the teacher will explain that they will begin building their blogs. Teachers will give copies of a blog creation step sheet using a smartboard or an overhead projector. This teacher will go through each step of creating a blog and allow students to follow the steps on their computers. Of course, you'll have to wait a few minutes between each step to check and be sure that students are with you and allowing them to help each other if they should encounter problems. Also, you should show the blog that they asked. You should create a blog model of a finished product, and I will show you my current blog in this online presentation. Of course, you give students the remainder of the class period to begin building their blogs, and you tell them that they may also click edit posts from the post page to go back and change something or to delete a post, and all of this is on the handout on how the steps to create a blog. Also, you should provide students with the blog requirement sheet if they forget a step, and to experiment with posting images and other elements. Of course, you circulate around the room and answer questions as needed. Also, students need to have a copy of the rubric so that they can clearly see how they will be graded. I allow additional 2 days just in case for homework. Now, students can continue to work on the blogs at home, but for those students who do not have access to a computer at home, then you will allow them some more time in the computer lab or on the school computer. Also, if you have a tech-savvy student, allow them to explore the many possible additions to the layout page, including things like videos, music, photo collages, or widgets, encouraging them to go beyond the requirements of the assignment. On the last day, assign partners, and you have students trade chairs to view each other's blogs. They will fill out the questions on the peer editing question sheet for their partner's blog. Then they will trade handouts and return to their own computers to look at what their peer editor suggested for them and make those corrections. And by doing this, students will be helping each other strengthen their blogs by noticing both the strong and potentially confusing or disparate elements on their blogs. And these are the resources that I found by going on www.readwritethink.org. They have a WebQuest exemplar handout. They have a character blog step. They have the character blog requirements, character blog rubric, as well as the character blog peer questions. And they have these in a handout, but I copied and pasted into a Word document so that I can try to change it over to a PDF or Word document for the students to have. Also, I'm going to show you, I have 5 classes, so I created each class a WordPress.com. I'm going to show you my second period, and my school bought My Big Campus, so I'm going to show you the blog post for My Big Campus as well. The technology that you're going to need to do the character blog posts would be, of course, computers with internet access. You need a computer with a smart board or overhead projector. And like I stated about the PDF files that will have to be created for the handouts that I found on the readwritethink.org website. My other lesson idea was Twitter tweets. After reading a chapter or section in a book, students will summarize what happened on Twitter in 140 characters or less. Students will write these summaries from the perspectives of one of the characters in the book, and at the end of the book, the summaries will be read together and should tell the basic story of the whole book. Students will use the Twitter website to type their tweets and respond to other members of the class tweets. As an alternative, you could also secure a wiki site for students to post their summaries. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this presentation, is that currently when students do their independent monthly genre reading novels, that they're using a reading log, and on that reading log, they ask them to record summary, and my students are having a problem with that. So my rationale for the Twitter tweets is because currently I have students to use a reading log to write a summary with no more than 4 sentences about the pages that they read. They will turn in what appears to be a book report for a summary. So I would like to incorporate using the practice of tweets through Twitter, since it requires using 140 characters only. I hope this method will allow my students to write with a concise method to master the technique of summarizing. The steps for this plan, students will choose a library book to read on their reading level, or this lesson can be used for a required classroom reading assignment. Students will need to learn some of the jargon that is associated with Twitter in order to complete the assignment. Students will need to understand the terms like Twitter handle and hashtag. Username should communicate which character they are representing, and the teacher will assign a unique hashtag to allow easy searching. To begin the lesson, Common Craft website offers a good introduction to what Twitter is in a video called Twitter in Plain English, and there is the website for that. Students will need to register for Twitter and follow the other members of the class. All students will share their real name and username with the teacher for identification purposes, and the teacher will follow all the students in the class. Here are some examples of some Twitter jargons that students will need to know: follower, hashtag, microblog, retweet, social networking, tweets, twits, Twitter handle, Twitter sphere, and of course, Wiki. The technology that will be needed, of course, library or classroom book, computers with internet access. They would need to go on Twitter. There's also a website called Historical Tweets. There's also a video called In Plain English Videos off of the Common Craft website. There's also Such Tweet Sorrow, which is has Shakespeare's famous play Romeo and Juliet performed as tweets from characters. So students who follow this tweet will be able to read tweets from each character in the story, and again being able to incorporate posting with 140 characters or less to get the view of the whole story. Something that could be optional is using Wordly or Tuxedo, and this will be to create a word cloud of all their tweets. And Tuxedo, this is a free website that generates a visual cloud of text that a user provides, and it says that the word cloud image gives greater prominence to words that appear more frequently in the source text to allow a viewer to see the dominant concepts of the text easily. Wordly, this is also a free website that generates a visual word cloud of text that a user provides. The word clouds give greater prominence to words that appear more frequently in the source text to allow a viewer to see the dominant concepts of the text easily. And as a user, you can manipulate the fonts, layouts, and color schemes of the word clouds. Something else that is optional is PB Works or Wikispace for teachers. And in this class, we've did PB Works. This is where they can post their tweets to a private site that can only be viewed and edited by the teacher and students in the class. So those are some examples of some technology resources for if you want to do the Twitter tweet summaries. And again, more information about PB Work, and Wikispace for teachers. Also, very important to go over with your students is the appropriate guidelines for when they have to respond to peer responses. So these are some things that we have to remember to compliment the writer, ask a question or add additional information, encourage dialogue with your post, not just a simple statement like I agree or good job. Students should only write what you would say in person to your classmate, never use inappropriate language or say anything that would be insulting or embarrassing to your classmates, and remind them to remember their tone and humor can often be misinterpreted, so be sure that posts clearly convey their message. As always, use your name so everyone knows who is posting and you get credit for completing the number of required replies. And also, most importantly, read over your comment before submitting it to make sure that you are proud of what you wrote before you post, and to remind them that they are leaving digital footprints every time they post anything. So spelling and grammar are important. So do a quick spell check before you post. And this guideline is what I had my students to review, and I also had a poster made up in my classroom when we began our blogging to remind them of appropriate guidelines for responding to peers' responses on the blogs. Okay, now I'm going to show you, this is just when I talked about the blog web quest exercise that I got off for the readwritethink.org website. And this is basically, it gives the students some blogs below that they can find their personal interests, go on, and then it gives them some questions for them to answer. So I have this in a Word document, so I can keep it in a Word document and put it on my website, or I can put it in a PDF and put it on my website. Also, blog steps. This gives them step by step everything that they need to do. It just shows them how to set up a blog on their own, how to make a post, also how to add an image, to add a video, to add a link, to edit or delete a post, to add a group of links, text, survey, or image to the sidebar. Also, to add a footer, image, or quotation if they need to. Next, we have the character blog requirements, and it lets them know that the goal of their blog is to express the thoughts, feelings, and history of their chosen character in a variety of ways. And it tells them as they design their blog that they should always consider whether they are representing their character accurately based on the text, and that it's okay to add fine details to their character's life that are not mentioned in the text as long as they are both appropriate to our school context and in line with the way the author describes your character. So they write their character, and then it tells them that everything that the blog must have, and so it's very easy for them to follow along. And then it says what everyone's blog must have one of the following, and it gives again bullet points of very detail. And then of course it reminds them if they use outside sources of any kind to use MLA, or I guess they could use APA style to cite their source somewhere on their blog so that they can give proper credit to where they got their source from. Very important, the rubric, so that they will know that they're going to be graded on the domains of writing, design, and requirements, and mechanics. And it tells the lowest and the highest points they can earn, and there's a possibility of 40 points that they can earn, because you have 4 categories and highest 10, so they can possibly earn 40 points. And next we have the peer editing assignment. So this is the expectations that when they, on that last day when they have to have the project finalized and they go switch with the partner, this is the sheet that the partners judge the blogs on and then give back to the owner so that the owner can read over the comments. Next, I'm going to share with you my current students, since it says to provide students with a model of what a blog would look like. So as I told you, I have 5 classes, and so each one of them has a unique title. My first period is my PC kids, then my second through 5th periods are my regular language arts students. So I'm going to share second periods so you can kind of have an idea. We're not doing blogs anymore because their tablets were taking up on April the 18th. So these are the questions, like warm-ups that I gave them, and then they had to respond to kind of give you an idea. I had to keep this up because even though I mentioned that my county purchased My Big Campus, a lot of my students, I shouldn't say a lot, out of my 95 students, I had 8 that could not log into My Big Campus, so I had to continue my WordPress, and I got tired of trying to remember what classes that the 8 students were in, so then I just decided to only type the question into one WordPress, and it just happened to be second period. Now I'm going to log into what I told you, my county. I can remember my password. Because it's been a minute. Did not save this. And this is my big campus, and so I have to go over to my groups, and I teach STEM, so I have them labeled again for each class. So that would be my second period STEM class, I'm sorry, their language lingo as well, so that's my first period, second period, third, fourth, and fifth. And go back to my PC classes, so kind of let you see things. I'm sorry, their last journal was on April the 15th, and this was their question, and these are the different students. The question again asked them if they were a doctor, what kind of doctor would they be, and tell what their job would be like. And so the students create their own little unique design over here. So, well, if they don't create one, this is the common one, but then some of the kids got creative and added their things. So as you can see, and again, this is from my PC Gifted Kids. So this was the blog that we just did with me posting questions. So hopefully you can see why I would like to incorporate using the character blogs and tweets on next school year, because those same novels we will be reading again, required reading, and again we will have the required monthly genres. So now I can add technology to my students. Instead of them turning in something on paper, I can now have them to do those blogs, set up a blog, as well as start having them do a Twitter account to help me a little bit easier. Thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this presentation.